Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. How are you guys doing there? I pray that all friends wherever you are always in good health and not lacking in anything alive. You guys to accompany leisure time friends. This time I will tells a film dedicated by the master of science kung fu martial arts Donnie Yen for all friends who have problems with confidence. Tells about a Hong Kong police detective who are obese after being left by their beloved his heart. With the title of the film Enter the Fat Dragon, and here he is the friends of the plot. The story of the film. Donnie Yen in this film plays a detective Hong Kong policeman named Ku Fu Long. The opening of the film is told. The film is in the car on leave because on that day he will have a session photo shoot from her wedding because she had to give red packets to mother-to-be, didn't come home, then left for a bank to withdraw some money. While waiting in line with the other customers, suddenly some robbers walked in into bang. The robbers immediately took out their weapons and then forced bank managers to give money to those trapped in the middle of the robbery. Home then took the initiative to stop robbery in progress. He immediately charged at the robbers and then got into a fight with them, but the robbers soon opened fire at him and then managed to escape after threw a grenade towards the exit. Bang. Fu Long trying to gave chase and then managed to jump up onto the car used by the robbers to escape. The robbers trying to kill Fu Long by shooting him, but in the end Follow managed to get into the car and the fight broke out again, trying to knock out the robbers while the car is going fast. In the midst of the fight appeared the according to him to cover and broadcast directly the action of the fight between the Follow and the robbers. After fight it out and go home, finally managed to knock out all the robbers, but he was forced to stop the car they were riding with. How to put it, in a police station after returning home was scolded heavily by her fiancée Chloe for the sake of becoming a hero. Fu Long to the point of not attending the photo shoot for the event, the wedding they will have. Island trying to explain the Chloe's that as a policeman it is his duty to stop the robbers, but that reason only made Chloe even more emotional because coming home is more concerned with work than their marriage. Chloe venting his annoyance to Follow while trying to hit him, but he actually fell and then suffered a broken hand injury. Long story short, because of the fight back home and Chloe finally goodbye. Hi. The next day bad luck again happened to Hong Kong police to impose sanctions on Fu Long or all the chaos and damage that has been caused by it. He was later demoted from a detective to a the police officer who guards the evidence room is now the only good friend who always faithful to accompany him as a vending machine which when inserted a coin then will issue a pack of snacks day after day. Lived by Fu Long. This new workplace just sits and enjoys a light meal. Lack of activity makes the body of this kung fu master even more every day more and more lumpy. Hi friends, with loneliness inside carry out his duty of guarding the police evidence room. He even celebrating his birthday without any friends beside him, but fortunately only one of his good friends named Chen has now been promoted become a police captain and then give a chance to Fu Long to escort a prisoner to be returned to Japanese police detainee named Yuji Yamamoto, who is a porn film producer in Japan and off the island. Start Yamamoto to be handed over to the police in Japan while he was on the plane accidentally came home to meet Chloe, who apparently also happened to be on a trip to Japan since breaking up with Follow. Chloe focusing on the film industry and at the same time this is if you have become a female artist who is quite famous. Chloe then explained to Fu Long that he was on his way to Japan to do his work. Upon arrival in Japan go home greeted by Inspector Endo of the Japanese police and his translator named Mei. The three of them then brought Yamamoto to later handed over to the Japanese police headquarters. On the way heading to the police station suddenly smelled a very strong stench in the car. They then immediately pulled the car over in a public toilet nearby. Inspector Endo starts Yamamoto into the temporary toilet pods and Meiji were waiting for them in the car park while they were sleeping in the toilet. Suddenly Yamamoto was attacked by an unknown man who tried to kill him without having time to put on his pants. Yamamoto immediately ran scared out of the toilet to save himself, went home trying to catch up with Yamamoto, but he managed to escape. Meanwhile Inspector Endo takes away the car they were driving. It didn't take long for the news to reach the ears of the Hong Kong Temple Pulse Money to explain the Paracon that the Japanese police are acting strange about the case of Yamamoto's escape, but still full audio. Choose all out by John for neglecting the mission he had been entrusted with to him. Den then called one of his old friends on a business trip To help Falong in carrying out his mission to find Yamamoto Siosa is a former Hong Kong police detective who has been friends for a long time with the center since they both just started their careers in the police. Hong Kong. He stopped being a detective because he wanted to help his wife opened a restaurant in Japan. Far away legal immediately rushed to meet Falong and then took her to live with him when they were both arrived at the brother's house to find his wife's restaurant filled with Dippanuhi Japanese Yakuza. Yakuza come to his wife because she has gambling debts which had not been paid to them not long after his wife's restaurant. Even ransacked by the Apulsa after trying to win question, but the Yapusas beat him instead. See him, don't beat him up. By the Yakuza came home immediately rushed in and then challenged the guys said to fight against himself one by one from the Japanese Yakuza. Tasting the sweetness of raw bogum and the harshness of opposition from the master. This one martial arts even though the body is round and puffy but the movement is the agile and agile make the Yapusas completely unable to touch herself after fighting for a while. Even that fight finally stopped after going home managed to lock the Pulse party in his wife's restaurant. Not long after that the Japanese police immediately arrived and the CEO immediately ordered him to go home to avoid the place far away. Legal cases sent home to see with his eyes. How did the Japanese police just let go of the websites had ransacked his wife's restaurant while it was elsewhere? Yamamoto, who managed to escape, had apparently been captured by the Yakuza. Japan turned out to be the cause. At one time, the day when Yamamoto was shooting a porn movie, he accidentally has recorded Parekising transferring the Yakuza's drugs. Then tortured him and beat him to death, but Yamamoto still act like he doesn't know anything about their recording question. The next day Yamamoto was found dead in the ship dock on the river bank of the volume. Who heard the news immediately rushed to the crime scene after observing Yamamoto's corpse came home immediately realized that this was a murder case. He then asked Inspector Endo to open an investigation, but Inspector Endo, without ignoring the Falong and insisting that Yamamoto died from an overdose drug use, he even told Falong not to interfere in business Japanese police and just go back there to Hong Kong. He was dissatisfied with Inspector Endo Falong's decision, then decided to do an independent investigation. He asked CEO for help. Talong don't bother to help him in carrying out the investigation there. The two of them then sneaked into Yamamoto's apartment and after looking here and there, finally found a cell phone that hidden by Yamamoto in a sack of rice. Because of the cell phone, it didn't light up much, then told his nephew to repairing the cell phone. After being repaired came home and Salsa found a photo that leads their investigation to a place fish shelter. The place is owned by a Yakuza ruler, the one named Okinawa. When the full dance don't get there, they find Falong's fiancée Chloe is being invited by Okinawa to celebrate a tuna auction event because it has to focus on the mission of Falong and Salsa. Then decided to return to continue the investigation. After sneaking here and there, Siosa accidentally found a used drugs that are hidden in the belly of the tuna fish. It turns out to be a place. This fish shelter is just a cover used by Yapusas to smuggle drugs out of Japan. Far away is legal to immediately run while brought the evidence to show Falong, but his actions, this overly goofy one, immediately caught the attention of the Yakuza at that instant. Also immediately a buzz correcting him. Falong, who saw it don't be beaten in a crowd, immediately rush in and immediately go straight got into a fight with the Yakuza. After fighting for a while, the island realized that it was impossible to win against Parekising all the time. Came as if there was no end to him, and I tried to escape using a forklift car mobile. Hey, those commotions and fights wreak havoc on the show ongoing cash auction flow that sees the island making the commotion at the event. Then immediately approached Falong to go home, trying to explain to Blowing that they are all Yakuza, but who felt very embarrassed and disappointed because going home had ruined the show. Then expressed his disappointment and told him to go home to get out of there. Not long after that the police immediately arrived and then took him home. Went in a police car at nightfall and called Chloe and asked her to have dinner together even though it was too late. Often disappoints Chloe, but Chloe is slow to forgive herself. Island then apologized to Chloe. He promised Chloe when he returned to Hong Kong later he will soon resign from the police. He asking Chloe for a chance so the two of them can come back, start their relationship all over again. Hey, long story short, Chloe forgives Follow and they both make up again. In the meantime, after still Not satisfied with the results of the investigation, then re-examined the contents of the cell phone they found in Yamamoto's apartment was inside. The cell phone has evidence of Okinawa's recording being. Ordered his men to smuggle drugs and recorded evidence that could be used to imprison Okinawa and all his minions, but at the same time it turned out that Okinawa had ordered his men to kill Mie Effort and Para Island. The Yakuza then flocked to Santung's house to finish him off in the middle. The onslaught of the Yakuza is useless. Trying to fight in order to protect his wife, he fought it out and was finally battered and beaten by the Yakuza, but luckily a Falong appeared and the fierce battle returned. Falong happened, who already felt very angry with the behavior of the Yakuza, then forgive them, desperately trying to kill Falong, but all of Vina Wa's men fell. One by one was beaten by the island. Not long after the island received a call from Okinawa, he threatened that he would kill Chloe if Falong didn't meet him immediately at a restaurant at the top of the Tokyo Tower. When he heard that his idol's life was threatened, he immediately ran to the Tower Tokyo, which is not so far from Seos's house. When he gets there, he is found out that the place had been hijacked by Okinawa. He saw Chloe's face was covered with full bruises and immediately walked over to Berjalan direction of Okinawa and intend to beat him, but Okinawa took out a gun and then shot Chloe's follow, who saw the island was shot, immediately ran over to follow and immediately cried while hugged him, but luckily the bullet fired by the antidote turned out to be missed and just grazed her distended stomach. Haven't seen her home yet. Killed. Okinawa immediately walked over to Falong and intended to finish him off, and it turns out that's what Fulo has been waiting for to come home soon. Let out a deadly kick and instantly sent Okinawa flying. Walking away, Kid sees his boss get knocked down by Marfulong's kick, immediately went forward to correct it but came home, managed to grab the gun that dropped by Okinawa and then used it to immobilize them. He saw all his men on the island of Okinawa as if on fire, beard, and immediately attack Falong blindly. Fierce fight. Perturungan came back inevitable. At the same time saw a helicopter flying around the Tokyo Tower, shouting through the loudspeaker. Ordered Okinawa to stop and turn himself into the police. In the helicopter there is a Meiji dance that flies directly from Hong Kong after seeing the evidence of the recording, which turned out to have been uploaded by Go Home to Okinawa's social media, who realized that he was now unable to escape. Again becomes more and more fiery, trying to kill their Fulo. The two of them fought it out until they got to the top of Tokyo Tower. Chloe trying to help Falong by throwing a double stick him and finished Okinawa's history of getting its flagship weapon. Even Go Home no longer forgive Okinawa. Okinawa made no struggling to receive a barrage of attacks from high, and finally he also overlaps and collapses in the hands of Falong after beat Okinawa. Falong and Chloe had time to enjoy the beauty for a while romance from the top of the Tokyo Tower, but Chen immediately threw a ladder emergency and then told the two of them to leave immediately before Japanese police arrived and arrested them. Falong and Chloe then went up to emergency stairs while the helicopter carried them both away. Japan, and the film was finished. That's when he friends storyline from a Donnie Yen film entitled Enter the Fat Dragon. There are so many valuable lessons that we can learn from this one film. One of them is that in this world, apart from straight lines, there are curved circles, triangles, and other shapes are the same as in life. There are many ways to solve a problem, because if we learn to forgive and respect each other, no matter fat or thin, whatever the difference, is the same as the principle of a water. No matter what the shape of your face, water can fill any container you want. That's this quote spoken by Falong, who weighs 113.04 kilograms. Finally, my friend, I thank you very much for friends who always make time to listen to the story of Mr. Film. Don't forget to be guarded by the Devil Palace, and see you again in the story next movie.